Hey everybody, and welcome to another episode of Circle Up and Get Real. Today I don't have a guest, so I am just going live on Facebook as I do and sharing some thoughts and inviting you, if you are listening live, to put your thoughts in the comments. I love dialogue. I don't love monologue, although I'm getting better at it the more I do it. When I say monologue, I mean this, I guess, where I'm just talking to a camera and hearing what is coming out of my mouth. Actually, the weird thing about that is I listen to it later so that I can know what I said when I'm in this space of being emergent and allowing thoughts to come through me. It's a kind of cool and maybe a weird sounding phenomena, but it's been kind of interesting to allow a topic to emerge through me. So, with that said, if you're watching live, please feel free to put comments in here. I'll be watching and I'll address them as they come up, if they do. And if they don't, no big deal. You can comment later. This will go on the podcast, which is in season 6. I think we are episode 275 today, I believe. So today I wanted to talk about advice. I am a coach. I am a certified life purpose and career coach. And so I've spent the last 20 years since I've been certified practicing that skill. And it involves a lot of listening. And when I was early in that journey back in 2005, when I first got my certification, I, as a rule follower, was really, really good at following the rules. And the rules of coaching have a certain cadence to the way we listen and a certain response to when people say things. And so I was a by the book coach because heaven forbid, I would do it wrong. Recovering perfectionists do that. And so I would do what I was supposed to do, which was respond with questions all the time. Everything was about coming back with a question. And somewhere in the middle of my career, I kind of shifted my focus from strictly coaching to consulting. And as a consultant, I found that I had more opportunity to offer suggestions or say things, declare things, make statements rather than always asking questions. I could be wrong about all of this. I could have had it mixed up the whole time I was doing it. But what I've recognized in the past few years as a coach, I find that dialogues that are two-way dialogues feel much more natural and much more welcome. And so I think about advice as a coach. By the way, I'll go back and say, as a coach, friends don't often want to be coached when we are having a social gathering. And early on, it was difficult to allow people's, let's call it natural conversation, to go uncoached. And so natural conversations, when you're with your friends, sometimes you just kind of complain about things and you say what's on your mind and you have opinions about things because you feel safe. And you can ask maybe ask questions, but you can make declarations in a space where people aren't going to judge you when you're with people you love and know and care about. And that doesn't always lead to a resolution. It leads to more complaining in some cases. And so I started noticing this distinction when I was early in my coaching career, and I don't think that's gone away. I hear people making a declaration about something they don't like, or something I'm going to call it judge, but something they judge as wrong or bad or whatever. And I have to bite my tongue so I don't get into coaching mode, which is, so what would you prefer instead? You know, those kinds of coaching techniques, I suppose. But what I've understood over the years is, yes, we need to get things out. We need to be upset, and I crudely call this puke it out before we can allow new things to come in. So of course, we need to vent. We need to feel what we feel. Always feel your feelings. And if people are not asking to be coached, our advice probably falls on deaf ears. So unless somebody's asking for advice or coaching or a perspective shift or something like that, it's hard. It's a hard place to be because you're like, oh, I know they don't want this right now, and oh, what if I could put something in there that would help? It can be difficult. Now the difference is when someone hires me, I'm going to say, "Hi Rico, thanks for that." When someone hires me as a coach, let's just say a coach, my job is to help redirect. My job is to mirror and match. My job is to reflect back what they are saying because they're hiring me to help them navigate. And that's different. That's a different hat to put on. And what I've learned over the years is at the beginning of my career in coaching, I was so careful to say, I heard what you said. Could I offer you a different perspective? Because you certainly can do that. Now I kind of jump in without asking permission. And it's because I feel more dialogue based than coaching based many times. And I'm thinking about a current coaching client I have where we've covered so much ground in only, I think we've been together for 6 or 7 weeks. We've covered so much ground and we've had so many enlightening conversations about things I'm noticing and offering suggestions about. And I might be wrong about a suggestion I offer, and I offer it and say, try this and let me know how it works, or let me know what happens, or come back next week and let's talk about it. And if that wasn't helpful, then let's try something else. And I've been so pleased with this client's willingness to be coachable, willingness to try things, and what I'm noticing this client is noticing is remarkable because this person is really, really, really coachable. So that leads me back to the original question on this post, which was, what's easier to give? Or is it easier to give or to receive advice? And it's interesting because even if we ask for advice, and I'm saying advice, like tell me what you think I could do in this situation, that's advice to me. If I ask for it and don't feel open to what I'm getting back, I notice that I can be resistant. And so I'm like, I want the situation to be the way I want it to be. I want, whatever, this person to be different. And so I go to friends and say, could you give me your advice about this situation? And they say, well, you could do this or you could do this. And I'm like, no, it's about that person. I want that person to change. And what's becoming really clear to me is when I ask for advice, I better be willing to listen. And many times what causes me to be resistant to the advice I'm seeking is my own, I'll say unconsciousness, my falling below the line into closed, defensive, and committed to being right. The good news is I notice it. I notice where it hits me, and I notice it really quickly. It's probably a result of doing all this work for all these years. And I notice when I go, it's about that person. That person needs to change. And then I can open my mind up again and I can go, okay, yes, yes, yes. This is where I hit the wall. And thank you for continuing to offer your advice and your suggestions and your scenarios and all of this. Because scenario planning really is what we're talking about in this case. Let's talk about different scenarios, different things you could try. This is no different than what I help corporate leaders do. Let's talk about scenario planning when we're doing our strategic planning. What if we go down this path? What might it look like? And I help guide that. And so in that space, I have to be willing to hear what I'm asking for as well. And that's where I know what I notice is my own resistance, and I can clear it up. So I'm going to go to the comments. Jodee, thank you. I love this. We will be talking soon, Jodee. That will be fun. Jody's going to be on my podcast. Rico, how would you address the fact you get hired to offer advice, but the person doesn't want to follow the advice they are paying for? Such a good question, Rico. So that I get that sometimes too. And as a consultant, as a coach isn't so much because I just offer them opportunities to choose things. But as a consultant, they're paying for my advice, my expertise, my I suppose wisdom. I think I turn back into a coach in that case, Rico, and I ask, so what's missing in this relationship that would have them not take the advice? And I might have to reformulate the way I'm giving it and notice what I'm noticing. All I would say is, it seems to me, or I like the word occur. It occurs to me that what we talked about last week, what was either not helpful to you, or something else came up and got in the way of it. And I'm curious if there's something else we can talk about so that we could get back to that situation where we talked about the advice. I think that's how I would do it, Rico. I'd just go back and say, what did I not communicate? And if it's not on me, if I recognize that it's not on me, then I say to them, what got in the way, or what was more important this last week that you chose to either do that or not do that? In a non-accusatory way, I want to uncover the roadblocks. What got in the way? That's one of the things I learned in my coaching certification. People are making choices all the time, and they forget that they have choice. And sometimes I need to remind them that they chose that. Because if we lose our free will in situations and our power of choice, we can feel very stuck. And I really have a hard time believing that there aren't always at least 3 choices in any situation. 3 choices. Accept the situation the way it is and shut your mouth. Work to change your part in the situation, which will change the situation. So ask more questions. Ask yourself, what could this mean for me? There's a process to that. And the third one is to leave. If the situation is so bad, leave. That's a choice. All 3 of those are choices. I'm not saying they're equally easy or equally difficult, but they are choices. And if we forget we have choice, then my job is to remind the client or whoever, that they have a choice in the matter. They have a choice. And that's the thing that, if we lose that, I think we can fall deep into victim mode and deep into what I call below the line, based on the 15 commitments of conscious leadership, which is closed, defensive, and committed to being right over being open to learning. Jodee says, that's powerful insight. It occurs to me. I wonder. Curiosity keeps the heart open. Yes. Thank you. Yes, you're welcome. You're welcome, Jodee. I'm happy to offer that. And I tell you, I wear this necklace all the time because it's my reminder to stay in curiosity mode. And it just says, be curious. And I had a tendency earlier in my life to jump into judgment because I was so insecure about my own ability to discern and make decisions that I would get judgmental when something would be different than what I thought it should be. And I would judge the situation so I didn't have to change my mind. And that is where I kind of lean on this, and I lean into my curiosity. And sometimes it's very irritating to people. Sometimes they don't want to be questioned and interrogated. That's kind of what I mean by, is it easier to give advice or to receive advice? And to remember that not everybody wants to be coached. I have to be really, really aware of that. And I think I have developed a pretty good sense of discernment and pretty good listening skills. Yet if they're not wanted or asked for in the moment, I have to be really aware. This is not a time or place for that. I mean, if we're out having a drink and we're having a conversation and something, somebody just needs to vent, I'm okay with venting for, a certain amount of time. Let's just vent. Let's get it out. But if we stay in that space vibrationally, that's not a space that's a match for me, because I've worked so hard not to stay in that below the line victim thinking mode. Please hear me when I tell you I'm not being toxically positive here, which is denying reality. That's a real thing. I am acknowledging reality and then getting back into the space of making my own choice about how I want to go forward. It can feel like judgment, I suppose, if I do my best to redirect a negative conversation. But after a certain amount of time, that doesn't, it's going to sound selfish for a second, but that doesn't do anything for me. It doesn't allow me to bring my best self to the conversation or the situation. And at some point, my choice is, great, it's been awesome, you guys. I got to run, and I will see you next time. And we can gracefully exit. And there are ways to do that. Rico says, thank you so much. Appreciate it, Jodee. Yeah, Rico, it's just the way I would do it. I mean, you and I could have a cup of coffee and talk more about that. I love possibilities, which means that there is more than one option. And talking through options and brainstorming and heartstorming with people about what's in our heads and what's in our hearts is one of the most fun things. I just love doing that. Cup of coffee, craft brew. I love going out and determining, what's a possibility, what's an option, what could we do? Because staying stuck does not feel like an option I want. I think about even the things we're not supposed to talk about, politics and religion, right? We can get so stuck in being right about something that stuck is stuck. And I heard somebody say one time, the only difference between a rut and a grave is the dimension. So I don't want to keep digging that rut till it is time for it to be a grave. And to know that the thing that I did best was dig a hole. We talked this morning in a mastermind group that I'm part of about having regrets. If you have regrets at the end of your life, will they be for things you did or things you didn't do? And I really don't want to have regrets for things I didn't do or didn't try. And so that means I'm going to make more mistakes. The more I try things, the more mistakes I'll make, and the more I have the opportunity to learn. Because to me, the way I learn best is through the things that didn't work out the way I wanted them to, and then I can go back and go, okay, so where could I shift? What could I do differently next time? And all of that is, to me, fun, because it's like, ooh, this is a puzzle. And I think I'm looking up at my board right here with my 2021 strengths from the Strengths Finder. I did this in 2000. Oh, let me think. I don't know what year. I did it in 2009, I think was the first year I did it. And I had a certain set of strengths. And they shifted a little bit in 2021. Maybe I could do it again. But my top 5 strengths are learner, strategic, achiever, activator, and relator. So number 1 is learner. I guess that's just something that's something that's really important to me. And then strategic is, so what do I do with this? And how might I be strategic in my thinking and my thought processes? Which is why I love doing strategic planning for organizations, because I don't do it traditionally. I do it very differently. Contact me if you want to know more about it. But I'm doing one in October for an organization, and we're spending a full day on a different way of strategizing than they have been used to in the past. And I love it when people will take a chance on doing something different, because that's what I love doing. I have a lot of cool clients right now, really cool clients, individual coaching clients and also corporate. I'm doing two breakouts and a full day workshop at a convention in Madison, Wisconsin in a couple weeks. And I'm really excited about that because I rewrote a course that I had written and delivered many times, but the course needed an update. And I have it right here. If you're watching the video, it's called From Transaction to Transformation, Leading with Connection. And here are all the scripts and the slides, and I'm really excited to deliver that. So you can count on me for new ideas. That's just one thing that I'm pretty good at, and I am owning that strength. So that's why these kinds of conversations are so fun for me. And thank you, Ricot and Jody, for actually engaging here today. I love that because it's more of a dialogue then, which means that we agreed to suspend previous assumptions in order to learn from each other. So I thank you for opening that listening space for me to speak into. And I'm not kidding when I say I go back and listen to what I said later, because I kind of get in a flow, and what I say is not scripted. What I say is not planned. It's very emergent. And sometimes I learn from myself, which is really fascinating. I would highly recommend it at some point. So with that, everybody, I will leave you to ponder that question for yourself. Is it easier to give or to receive advice? And if you, like I, have a little bit of trouble sometimes in receiving the advice you ask for, ask yourself, what could this resistance mean? And instead of getting furious, get more curious. and say, is there a hidden lesson in my resistance that I could actually learn from? So as always, oh, by the way, before I go, would you do me a favor, and if there's anything here that you've enjoyed, would you help me spread the word about my podcast? It's called Circle Up and Get Real on any podcast platform, including Audible, for free. You can find it. And the video is on my YouTube channel, which is Get Real with Jodee. So you can find all 6 seasons and lots of content in a lot of those places. So I'd love help in spreading the word. Thanks, everybody, and find a way in your own life to get real this week. I promise you, you won't regret it. See you next time.